All right. Hey, we're back. We're here with Tamar Levine. Play it forward. Tamar, I didn't know, I just checked out your film. Beautiful. Yeah, it was dope. I didn't know whether to slit my wrist or to dance in the rain at the end of the production. And I think it's a dancing production. It's really hopeful. It's really awesome. And I really enjoyed it. So that said, you were played it forward. You were nominated by Matt Wyatt of Stuffed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love Matt. Yeah, he's great.
Yep, and he had the puppet thing going earlier, and Matt was a great interview. And you were on this film. It's called It's Okay. You were the director.
I was the director, yeah, and
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
A director, one of the producers on it as well.
Let's just go right into the first question.
Yeah.
What was your inspiration for this subject matter?
So, at the time, I didn't realize it, but at the time I was married, and it kind of foreshadowed our divorce.
Shit! Yeah. Wow! Oh man!
Yeah.
Wow.
So kind of into it, but
and I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to say, hey, that story is so prevalent in our culture and our society, in old cultures, but particularly here. I think the way you've shown it. So that said, you're obviously not alone.
Yeah. Well, that was a while ago, but
right.
Yeah, it was interesting because at the time I had no idea. I was inspired to make something, and I love dealing kind of always in my photo career, and then when I started directing, I've always been inspired by relationships and how people just kind of communicate with each other, or kind of a lack of communication. And I've always been super interested in psychology, and I've taken kind of like extension classes at community colleges to study psychology, and that's always been really fascinating to me. So when I can deal with how people interact with each other and kind of express that in my work, that's what I love to do. And so I made this piece, and then it was actually me and my husband probably separated 6 months later, which was crazy. Wow. And we're still on good terms. Like it's all good. But looking back on it, I have a much different experience about the piece than when I for sure. I mean,
that's awesome, and that's why I asked these questions. The questions is, the first one is, what was your inspiration, and then what is the film trying to say, or what is the film saying as you see it now? Because all this is, things shift in hindsight between making the project and then seeing it and seeing the finished project. And I think I just wanted to say, you mentioned all these psychological interests in exploring those. That's what art is about, right? Is exploring who we are and our experience, and that's the entirety of the universe and beyond, right? So with particular focus for you on these themes, you didn't know it at the time, but it was just resonant in your life as you were experiencing it.
Totally, yeah. And I mean, obviously things like that, we were together for 10 years, so things like that did come up in our relationship, and but I didn't know kind of to the extent that it did. So that was really interesting. I mean, to me, it really is about how two people can be in the same physical space and be having completely different emotional experiences. That's really interesting to me, and how this couple, they're experiencing life together, and the whole film takes place in their little bubble of their home.
Beautiful set.
Yet they're so far apart. They couldn't be more far apart. And then it's very thick, like they're kind of just like trudging through this thickness, and it's not until that fight at the end that that, you know, hopefully the viewer is just like, oh, you know, like for me, the fight, arguments are normally supposed to be, you know, very tense, but I wanted it to be opposite. I wanted it to be very tense kind of until that argument. And then for there to be kind of like a liberation once the guy starts yelling, because that's really, you know, this whole time she just wanted some emotion from him, and finally she got it. And so that's kind of what the film is.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that hit the narrative arc in terms of, you know, the timing and the pacing, and it happened about 2/3 of the way in, 3/4. So, yeah, that'll nail that. I think what's interesting to me is, you know, in terms of thematically in this particular representation of a couple, you know, there's so many couples having issues, and why. I mean, you do end it on a positive note. In terms of there seems to be hope for them, and then you kind of undercut it with that last statement, or let me see, you know, when you're dead kind of thing. So then it is a little ambiguous of the ending. Nonetheless, you know, what's interesting to me is as a viewer and taking something away from these films, like what's the point of it? You know, like, okay, great, you know, we make these films, but you know, the idea is like to help other people in some way, you know, to uplift, to engage the mind, to create more wisdom or openness or understanding, right? I'm not alone in that thinking, am I?
Oh no, totally. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my goal with any people watching my work or looking at my work is to get some sort of reaction from them that stays with them, you know, after they're done watching.
And in some sort of positive way, right?
In some sort of positive way, yeah, for sure.
So that said, you know, thematically, you know, this is a great depiction of like the common shit couples go with, and I think there's a lack of communication, right? That's basically what's going on here, and so there could be at any given point in time with this couple another scenario where, like, you know, it ends differently, or there is a shift where, okay, somebody's trying to communicate, and though the woman is trying to reach out in her way, it's not a mature way of communicating to the man, and the man is also incapable of a mature way of communicating, so the two are stuck in this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, the reason for the title, It's Okay, is basically to convey that it's, you know, like this is life, you know, like we all, like, kind of what seems as such this, like, you know, it's funny because I get such different reactions about this film. Some people say, holy shit, that was so depressing. Some people say, you know, like, I'm so happy I'm not that couple. So, you know, like, I get really depressing reactions, but, you know, kind of my point with it is that it's okay. Like, this is life. This is how we're just all trying to, you know, like, it's hard enough for us to deal with ourselves, much less share a life with someone else. So if we can just get through it, then it's successful, you know, like, to get through it. And so that's kind of what I take from it. But again,
no, I think that's great. But, you know, to your point, it's okay. It's kind of like we're all the birds trying to free ourselves from our own cages here, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And great visual metaphors. I mean, it was so cinematic. It was just really fun to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I guess we've, you know, addressed the second question is, what is the film saying in retrospect? Is there anything that we left out?
You know, I don't think so. I mean, that's kind of what I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I see it in hindsight. I think, and in hindsight, actually, to me, it seems a lot more optimistic, actually. And I don't know if that's just where I'm at in my life.
Oh no, dude, I totally agree with you. I mean, you know, she opens the cage door.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
You know?
And this was, you know, it's funny to talk about this because I shot it at this point. It was about 3 years ago.
Wow.
So it is, it's interesting thinking about it now. And I just rewatched the film for the first time today before our conversation.
Yeah.
And I got a whole different reaction than I got from it the last time I saw it. So it's cool for me too.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. So, all right, to the last question. I mean, how have you changed? And I know this is, you know, since it's a personal piece too, but I guess how have you changed as a filmmaker and as an artist since you've made this film?
Oh, I mean, this was quite a while ago, and I had just started directing when I made this, and since then I've done commercials and music videos and live shows and another like I've done kind of a lot since I made that. And so, I mean, technically I've changed a ton. I've gotten a lot better with, I wouldn't say better. I think I've gotten a little less scared of using dialogue than I was when I made it. And I think it worked for that film, but I intentionally shot it with very little dialogue. Because I was kind of scared of it. I was kind of scared of dialogue having a photo. I've had a photographic background for my whole life, and then just getting into directing.
Well, what was the fear? I mean, what's the fear of dialogue? That you have bad acting?
I don't anymore, but when I directed that film, I was a photographer. I didn't direct. I don't know where it came. It was, I guess, fear of the.
What's the worst that can happen? I mean, they're just talking, right? So is it a bad performance that you were afraid of?
No, it wasn't a bad performance. I think I just wasn't comfortable directing dialogue, and especially working with actors like Tommy and Jenna.
I see what you mean. You didn't know how to give, tips or adjustments or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, at the time I was super winging it. Like these, working with very experienced actors, and
how do you communicate with them?
And Neil LaBute wrote the dialogue, and he's obviously very experienced and amazing. And so it was kind of me working with these people who were far more experienced, and I was just kind of winging it. So
right. How do you give them adjustments?
Yeah. So for that, the dialogue and being able to, take Neil's dialogue and, doing justice to as well. So it was kind of just more my lack of experience and insecurity.
Well, you're not alone. I mean, every director is all of a sudden, okay, I'm a director, let me be responsible for orchestrating the entire vision of the film. How do I talk? I, may not, likely don't have any acting experience. And then I have these actors that are like, the pivotal instrument of the entire movie, and one of the pivotal frameworks of the entire movie. Certainly that's where the attention is mostly directed, if you're not, when they're in the shot. And what do I do with them?
Yeah. So that was kind of, I think, working with actors over the last 4 years, that's really how I've changed the most. I mean, without a doubt, I've been taking acting classes, and now I'm working on my first feature, and I did another short and doing commercials and stuff. Like that's been by far the biggest development.
That's something huge that directors, one of the things I heard about famous directors say that really stuck with me is that he doesn't sit in front of the monitor when the scene is going on.
Right.
He views and stays tuned and emotionally connected and to what the scene is outside of the monitor. And I think there's a lot there to being in the room, in the space with the actor, not having this intermediary thing.
That's how I work as well. And that's the visuals. I mean, I'm sure you can see from the short, visuals are so important to me. And so it's very easy for me. It has been very easy for me to get lost in the visuals. So I really have to force myself to take care of all storyboard, shot list, take care of all of that stuff prior.
Yeah.
work with the DP, beforehand, and just make sure that I'm so happy with every single shot, because I want to treat every single shot like a beautifully composed photograph.
Like you do what?
I want to treat every shot like a beautifully composed photograph.
Right.
So because of that, if I've kind of gotten better at managing that, where I can work on that stuff before I shoot, and then while I'm shooting, I can really focus on getting in there with my actors and, being with them.
And now, so in the hindsight of that 4-year experience, doing other stuff, also having, filmmakers in the family, that's pretty cool. And mentor, being your mentor, your father, right, is your mentor, as you just told me. Having that experience, which is special, a lot of, people don't. What are the things that you've learned that can make you comfortable working with actors and the range of different actors and range of different personalities and range of different roles and scenes? What are some things that you can, communicate to other filmmakers to give them confidence and direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, whatever story you're telling, I think it's important to be invested in it emotionally. And so even if you didn't write the story, to just not only know what's on paper, but really understand what happened before entering this world and what's going to happen after you leave this world.
Gotcha. So like backstory
And really diving into the characters. Like, I mean, I guess that's kind of more of a Stella Adler technique, but really figuring out, like, not only motive, but, what was this person's parents like? What was their upbringing like? Like, really, really kind of knowing every single thing about the characters, the location, like, I mean, just everything, just knowing as much as possible. Working on set is such a collaboration, but I can't do my job, and I can't tell people what I want out of them or allow them to elevate my vision if I don't know. I need to learn too. It's everything. I mean, I want to learn what the DP is doing. I want to know the backstory behind the lamp that the set director or set designer put on the desk. I mean, every single thing I want to be involved in emotionally, because that's how I'm going to get my best performance out of the actors, how I'm going to get the best job out of the crew members. I mean, everything. I need to know everything. So.
Well, I love what you're saying. I mean, you have to command respect, and to command respect, you have to be responsible. And that doesn't mean just, saying X, Y, Z. It means having done your homework.
Yeah. And I think it's not just about, commanding respect. It's about hiring people and working with actors and DP and production designer, everyone who are going to elevate the project. But it's important as a director to do.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, maybe instead of command respect, I should have said earn respect. But I mean, what you're describing to me is the process of earning respect, and to be able to communicate to people on a level that it can support them. So, I mean, you're touching upon something that's getting me really excited, is collaboration. And so
that's everything to me, is just working with people who I really respect, and working with people who can take my vision, but then elevate it and bring their own, unique talents to the table. It's so important.
Keeping good energy as you're shooting is so important.
How do you define good energy?
I mean, everyone working together for like a common goal. I think that once egos get in the way, that has the ability to kind of lower the energy very quickly. So I would say humble, lack of ego, doing something for the project as opposed to, some kind of personal agenda. And yeah, just kind of a respect, everyone respecting each other, I think is good energy.
Clarification, totally, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say those two things are kind of very important. And I try to surround myself with people that I know consistently have good energy as well, that are not only really talented people, but also really pleasant people to be around, that will kind of contribute not just their amazing talents, but also help facilitate other people as well.
Yeah, positive attitude facilitation.
I would say is good energy.
Nurturing environment.
Yeah. So if it seems like, there's someone who is, not helping facilitate that on set, or maybe there's, someone that, I don't know. I mean, there could be many different things that go on set that would make someone either unhappy or not producing their, most amazing work. Normally I try to talk to them in a very private way. I would, there's, there could be tons and tons of people on set, and I think having kind of a more intimate conversation is really important. Helping people. I mean, I think it's just common sense. Like I think people need to feel heard, and listening is really important. And even if I have to take out, even if it kind of makes the schedule a little tighter, I think that ultimately, taking that extra 20 minutes to talk to someone privately can just make all the difference.
I think that's a great takeaway. Thank you so much for the wisdom that you've shared. Thank you for being on the show, and a great film. We look forward to more. Keep us posted of what's going on.
I will.
And Tamar Levine.
Yes.
Nice job. It's okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, Tamar, that's it. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in this week. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and leave us a like and or comment. It makes a big difference. Play It Forward is brought to you by Digipops, where we're building a community to put film and filmmaker discovery in your hands. Here, filmmakers and fans, the creative class, recognizes each other fairly and transparently through a community-curated film festival each quarter. It's coming soon. Thank you.